perhaps one of the most important decisions you will make in your entire life. You've been living in a house and you're now moving and you're like, oh no, what do? Do I keep my house or do I rent it? And I'm gonna tell you right now that your future, your financial future depends very much on how you answer this question. So today, let's explore. The average adult will own at least 3 homes in their lifetime, which kind of begs the question. When they get to retirement, do they have 3 homes or did they sell each time and they only have 1 home? I'm going to tell you right now that this decision is far bigger than actually where you live because moving is inevitable. I want to talk about the financial choice of whether you sell or rent because one can make you a little bit of money and one could make you grip loads of money.
I made a lot of money off of it.
There's so many reasons why homeowners move, right? And whatever your reason is, this is the question that ultimately applies. What do you actually do with your current home? Now, depending on your financial situation and your local housing market, the massive ROI could be found in renting rather than selling, or it could be found in selling rather than renting. And today I'm going to model out both of these options so that you can make the best informed choice. First of all, owning a home is the biggest financial asset that most people will ever own. And so deciding what you do with it shouldn't be taken lightly. There are pros and cons to both options. For example, selling may give you a large windfall of cash all at once, right? I mean, I bought the house, I lived in it for years, it appreciated, it went up in value, and so it's like, man, if I sell it, I'm gonna get all of this cash, and I'm so pumped about that. But on the other hand, if I keep it and I rent it out, and if I have a strong positive cash flow, then every month, more or less, I'm gonna get money deposited in my bank account, and it kind of feels a little bit like my house went to work for me at some type of job making me extra money every month. Now, it is important to note that a lot of people are like, hey, I'm not even contemplating this becoming a landlord renting thing out. I gotta sell my house so I can get all this extra cash so that when I buy my next house, this cash will buy my next house and I can pay it down and my payments will be lower. Like, isn't that really my only option? And the answer is no. Well, there are different reasons why you may just want to sell. You might say, I actually want buckets of cash. You might also say, I don't have any interest in being a landlord.
Can't do it.
Or you may have capital gains tax exemptions and you're like, actually, I've lived in this home for 2 of the last 5 years. If I sell it, any of the gains I make, technically I'm not gonna have to pay any taxes on. I kind of want to take advantage of that. I want you to remember this, true wealth and profitability, that's measured in decades, not in a single quick decision that you make on whether you're gonna keep your house or not. And there's also different reasons why you may wanna rent instead of sell. Think about the rental income, right? It's like, well, my mortgage, I've had it for a long time. It's only $1,300 a month, but I can rent my house for $2,300 a month. I'm gonna make $1,000 every single month by just renting this out. You also might be in an area that has a high rental demand and you're like, oh my gosh, this house is such a keeper. It's so easy to rent out and I love the positive cash flow.
Easy green.
And you also might be in an area where you're like, you know what? I actually don't know if I wanna sell. My house has gone up in value. I think it's gonna keep going up in value. And it seems like that might be a smart reason to keep it. What I want to actually map out for you here is a game plan that I've used to help a lot of people make a lot of money. So for example, I want you to imagine this is your house, except yours is bigger because you live in it. And at one point you actually purchased this house for $300,000 and you made it your primary residence. This is where you lived and raised your family for about a decade. And then guess what? Something happened where it was time to move or relocate. And all of a sudden you're faced with this decision of like, well, do I really want to sell this house that is now worth, it has a value of $500,000, in which case I paid $300 for it. Over the last decade, I paid it down even some. And if I sell it, I'm going to clear at least $200,000 if I sell it for $500,000. And it's like, man, what could I do with that? Let me show you what most people do. They sell their house and then they purchase a new house, let's call it for $500,000. And they actually put $200,000 down as a down payment. Years go by and later it's worth $700,000. And it's like, well, I bought it for $500,000. I transferred all $200,000 here. So what I owe is actually $300,000. It's now worth $700,000. Oh my gosh, just on these 2 houses, like if I were to sell, I would now have $400,000. Well, let me tell you about the average American at the age of 65. You see, they've been focusing on a very specific retirement plan. I'm gonna put money in a 401k and an IRA. And after 4 decades of piling money into retirement, on average, they have $254,000. But as of this moment in 2024, the average person that has a home has an average equity of $299,000. So just by, I bought a home and I sold it, and then later I bought another home and I sold it, and now I've got, let's just say not $400,000, but in that case, $299,000. You actually have more money than you've been setting aside for retirement just from buying and selling a couple of homes.
The guy made $1 million.
Which begs the question, what should I be doing instead with my game plan? Well, in this situation, this $400,000, you know what I'd be doing with it? I wouldn't transfer it all into like a paid off house if I'm downsizing, or a nearly paid off house. I'm taking that $400,000 and I may go out there and actually purchase 4 homes. And you might be thinking, Kris, what reason do I have to buy 4 homes plus a primary residence? Like, I don't want to become a landlord. But then you remember what I taught you, that the average person at retirement has $299,000 of equity. And you're thinking, wait, if all of that can come from one home, then what would happen if I owned 4 homes? Well, I'll tell you what'll happen. You get to retirement and you'll be a millionaire.
I am rich.
Because all of this equity that is greater than retirement, that is now sitting in the home you live in, has also been growing in other homes. And when you add all that up, you actually became the millionaire next door. In fact, that is the premise of the book by Thomas Stanley, The Millionaire Next Door, which basically says the average person, if you get into buying a home and then you sell and buy another, or you hang on to it and buy another, by the time you get to retirement, you're most likely a millionaire just from hanging on to a handful of homes. Which kind of begs the question, what would happen if you had 10 homes? Or 100 homes like me, or hundreds of homes like me? Well, I'll tell you what, you don't just become a millionaire, you become a multi-millionaire.
Uh-oh, look what Daddy did.
Here's the bottom line. The best kind of money is the money that prints more money for you. A payout in the multiple hundreds of thousands is an adrenaline-inducing prospect. I remember having done it myself, and it's like, I love getting that big fat check. And it might be less sexy at the idea of like, do I want to be a landlord or hold on to more homes? But a time comes when you have a nice portfolio of homes, and some of them are paid off, and a bunch of them have piles of equity, and they're all producing positive cash flow, and you're like, shoot, how did I actually get here? Well, I actually didn't sell my home. I actually took some of the equity, I dispersed it into more homes, and I went on using a primary residence as a place for me to live, to raise my family. But along the way, I allowed myself to accumulate more and more and more homes, because I heard 90% of all millionaires made it in the game of real estate. Obviously, it's dependent on your current situation, but regardless of the path you choose, ROI, return on investment, is king. I know what you're thinking, Kris, what about my situation? Like, in general, I think I understood the principles of today's video, but like, if you were me, what would you do? Well, how about I tell you for free what I would do? It's actually really simple. There's a link below, and you request a free game plan, and basically a certified member of my team is gonna say, what would Kris do? Which is basically like, if I woke up in your shoes today and I had your assets, whether it's a lot of money or no money, or whether I had your credit, good credit or bad credit or undeveloped credit, if I had your job, here's the question. What is my fastest path to becoming a multimillionaire in your situation? If you wanna know exactly what I would do and what all of your options are, click the link below right now and just give me your name, phone number, and email, and let me reach out to you and let me share with you exactly what I would do. I guarantee you it'll give you a fresh perspective. More importantly, it'll probably show you options that you're not thinking about, because there's so much more that I am not putting in this video by way of, listen, if you hate your job and want to get out of it, or if you wanted to build a real estate portfolio hands-free and you literally didn't want to have anything to do with it, but you wanted to make all of the money, I can share with you all of those options. Just click the link below, request a free assessment. I'll reach out with a free wealth game plan and show you exactly what I would do. How did I have all of this knowledge on not just selling the home, but using it to build a portfolio of more homes? Well, believe it or not, there was a time in my early 20s when I was dead broke, I had no money, and my real estate mentor said, Kris, you want to buy real estate? And by the time I graduated college 4 years later, I had 25 homes, and these 25 homes paid me a 6-figure residual income, so that when I graduated college, I never had to get a job. I never had to work for somebody else. And if you'd like to go on a little journey of seeing these homes, I picked up my CEO the other day, threw him in the back of a limo, and basically went and showed him my first several properties that got me to a 6-figure residual income, and exactly how I did it. If you want to know how I did it and you want to join me on the journey, click right here and let me show you.